Hello, Sebastian here from Twin Peaks. In this video, we take a look at the settings for the volume and for the delta POG, which we have here in the city footprint indicator, for the POC, i.e. point of control, is the level with the largest lumen, or the delta POC with the largest delta value. We have various ways of visualizing this here in the footprint. I have changed the text here to volume, and we can already see where the largest value is. We have a black frame around this field. We can set here whether we want to have this frame, i.e. this rectangle, a text highlighting, or both. I like to have this here on rectangle to be able to see the whole thing here. We set the corresponding border thickness here, so we set it to 5, for example. We can already see that is highlighted much more here. Personally, the second strength is always enough for me. We can also filter here again, the location. So we only want to display a POG if it is inside the body. So for example here it is not displayed, or only within the wig. So we only want to see the POC, or even only in the upper, or even only in the lower wig if it is really inside the wig. Yes, we can set this separately here. If we set the whole thing to off, the POG is always switched on. Then here, delta type, so we only want to display a POC with a coherent delta. Coherent always means if we have a bullish bar, we also want to see a positive delta in the POC. And if we have a bearish bar, then we also want to see that we have a negative delta. And when set to divergent, it is the other way around. Then we want to see a negative delta in a positive, i.e. bullish bar. This can also be very exciting for some order flow approaches. This is not taken into account in the configuration of otherwise coloring based on delta. If we switch this on, then we can have the POCs colored separately, i.e. positive POCs and negative POCs in relation to the delta value are then colored differently here. This is also a very exciting function. We have then specified the same thing again as neutral color. This is the basic setting for all, and it is only neutral if we specify the advanced color here, because then it remains neutral, so to speak. So this is the default color. We can also display an extended VPOG, i.e. POGs that have not yet been broken. Instead, we set the visibility mode here to all, and then have all the POCs that are still untraded here, where there is no close below. So this is also a very exciting function. 2001. Here we can also filter, for example, that we only want to display POCs that are larger than 300. This means that the smaller ones with 200 are no longer displayed. So, what I forgot is the min volume function means we can filter here, whether we only want to display POGs of a certain size, for example, only from 300 traded contracts. Then the smaller POCs, SOS, EOS, are no longer displayed here. So, is also a very helpful function. I'll take this out again, set it to 0, and then we'll see them all again. Here with the extended POCs, we can also say again that we only want to see the whole thing here if the whole thing is in the body or in the rig or in the upper or lower rig. So here too, we can fine-tune the whole thing very, very finely. Important. There are some functions here again. For calculation mode, for example, we can always see this in the tooltip. Is there when this setting is changed via the settings window of the toolbar, i.e. the one we are currently in. If the levels are not broken, then an update F is required for the changes to take effect. This simply means that if I change some functions here, I have to press F so that a recalculation is performed in the background, and these levels can be displayed here again. 2001 also here delta type, again separately adjustable for this extended POC, that I, e.g. only want to display POGs that are positive within a positive bar. So here too, I can set very much for order flow trading. Breaking levels at session end also means that I can either take levels into the next day or only let them end on the current day. So here too, everything is adjustable, and here too, I can display only the broken levels or only the unbroken levels. Also very helpful is the whole extend right. As soon as we activate this once, we have the option here to drag the whole thing to the right or not. I'll try to find an example. where it's a bit clearer. Here you open up to the right edge, and if I switch the whole thing off, it always ends with the last malicious bar. So isn't that bad either, to show it a bit differently here graphically? Colors and opacities are relatively clear. Otherwise, I also have coloring based on delta. So if I switch this on, I can display the whole thing once for neutral, negative, and positive. These delta levels accordingly to see, okay, what is a positive or a negative POG that is present here. And then we have the whole thing here again. For this area separately, the whole thing we did here was for the volume POC, i.e. for the maximum volume. However, we also have the option of looking at the delta, i.e. where there was the largest delta. I'll briefly switch the numerical values here. Here at profile right, I switch from volume to delta. And here at profile, I also switch to delta so that it is clearer for us where what is happening. This must always be considered independently of each other. Then I have here in the delta volume pack, I can now display. I would now like to have the largest delta here as a rectangle, for example in yellow. I'll switch off the volume pack for a moment so that this doesn't disturb us. And now I can always see here where the largest delta was within the bar. So here, -3, e.g. Here, 104.99, that was always the biggest delta within the bar, the largest positive or negative numerical value. There was, I can display this again, accordingly with show max volume only. I really only ever see the largest one. If I remove this, then I can see both the largest positive and the largest negative here. And if I turn this off and then say coloring based on delta, then I can also see this here again in color. Show red and green separately, depending on where it was. This is always exciting. For example, if I only want to work with these values and here without the numbers, then I always see, all right, here was the largest positive delta. And here we can see very clearly that something has happened in this area. Here, because there was always the largest positive delta here. If we go into the market open area here, 2001, sometimes even a few, order flow, which is also a very exciting function to visualize the whole thing a bit. If we go out again, only the largest values are displayed immediately and via the hook back in here, then we really only ever see the largest delta within each bar. Also here again, the filtering body or wig, upper wig, lower wig, where I would like to have the whole thing delta type, IEE, the same as before for volume, coherent or divergent. I can set, here again, a volume filter, only from a delta of X, for example. Volume of X, would like to set the whole thing. Here for this, extended, VP, yes here, is exactly the same as before. For the volume, VPOX, volume POX, we can also activate here. And that makes the whole thing here very flexible to really display a wide variety of scenarios, and that in your daily trading. In the next video, we will take a closer look at the value area. See you soon.